Let's not pretend we aren't aware of what's going on. If you clicked this video, you've likely already heard of the Coffin of Andy and Leyley. What you want to know is, past the memes, past the unhealthy familial relationships, and past the mom, does this game have a pulse? Does it have worth outside of being a funny talking piece? Let me put it this way. The two main characters in this game have more layers, nuance, and subtlety than most video game characters that exist, and the dialogue with which all of this is conveyed is some of the best writing I've seen in a video game in some time. The Coffin of Andy and Leyley is a demented look into two characters whose reliance on each other is so overbearing and uncomfortable it's driven them each to their breaking point, except that almost every moment feels like their breaking point, made even worse by the fact that they're trapped in an old apartment that's under quarantine after their mother abandoned them. More on that later. Andy and Leyley, or Andrew and Ashley, know everything about each other, their tells, mannerisms, inner workings. It's their ability to understand what the other is thinking at any moment that leads to some of the most toxic dialogue I've read in a while, as they purposely probe at each other's deepest insecurities. Simultaneously, their connection helps them comfort each other in ways no one else could. A small smile here, fleeting blush there, a tone change, eyes averting. Nothing goes unnoticed, and there are moments where they act on those tells to tease each other, like Andy telling Ashley that he knows she enjoys a plan he concocted, even if she insists otherwise, or Ashley pushing Andy down a line of thinking until he finally smiles. It's cute stuff, or at least it would be if they weren't siblings, because for the few that are uninitiated, not only are these characters brother and sister, there is more than just bickering going on between these two. Underneath the arguments, there is a strong allusion to romance that constantly bubbles to the surface, most of which is provoked by Ashley. She's especially protective of her brother whenever he introduces a girlfriend into their life, or if he even talks about making friends. Perhaps it's not hard to see how these characters ended up the way they did. Their mother is really complicit in her job as a parent, and is quick to up and leave the instant she gets the okay to leave the quarantine zone. Seriously, reading this dialogue between her and her daughter straight up made me mad. Push comes to shove some months after she leaves when the guards start skimping on the food rations they're supposed to deliver to each of the rooms, and Andy's neighbor dies from a botched demonic ritual. Yeah, those are a thing in this world. Just bear with me. The siblings, seeing their opportunity to not starve to death, separate the late cultist into multiple pieces and have themselves a sizable meal. Not the best day. At the very least, Ashley gets to eat human meat that isn't Andrew's. Ashley is of course quick to pin the whole thing on Andy, even if she was a big part of what happened, and it's a perfect example of the most common trap they fall into. Andy and Ashley both exude awful behavior, but they're corrupt in different ways, bringing out the worst parts of each other. Ashley feeds off her brother's complacency, knowing if she pushes hard enough, she'll be able to get what she wants. Andrew is standoffish and torn between wanting to hold his sister close and throw her against the wall. Yes, in that way. He's sociable or outgoing enough, sure, but Ashley is the only one who really knows what he's like, and when Andy does actually branch out and find someone, she's quick to put a stop to it. This culminates in a really awful childhood event that ties the two of them together in ways Andy loathes and Ashley adores. In fact, there are multiple events like this, but there's more to this game than just a couple of corrupt siblings. Like its characters, the world of Coffin is unsettling. When the duo eventually escapes their apartment, things find a way to spiral further out of control. Between family issues, there's mishaps involving a demonic cult, a stolen car, and even a customer rep. The cult stuff in particular is almost sure to play into the broader plot, as it has a habit of reappearing every other story beat. Chapters 1 and 2 are out now, with no word on when the other chapters will release. There's even an infiltration scene where Andrew disguises himself as a cult member to parse together what's going on. I think this game could have been crazy enough without all the supernatural elements, but I trust that the developer has a broader plan that will comfortably tie all of this together. But it always comes back to Ashley and Andrew. It's very safe to say that how you feel about these characters is going to affect how you feel about the story at large. I think a big part of what makes it hard to take your eyes off this game besides Ashley is it's so reprehensible. The lighter moments between the two main characters would be cute in almost any other circumstance. It's because they're siblings that every time you see them together, you'll wish you weren't an only child. wish they weren't brother and sister. The dialogue is a thorough exploration of a really messed up family situation that, save for Jaime and Cersei from Game of Thrones, I haven't seen before. It's pretty unique, which I can't say about the gameplay. Gameplay in Coffin usually boils down to searching the same area over and over again until you finally spot the item you need to progress the story. Combing over a room between story beats can make for a nice breather after you've read a ton of dialogue, but there are definitely times when you question why this is a video game and not something more like a visual novel. Does this game compromise itself by leaning so much into its taboo premise that it risks bordering on being an H game instead of just wanting to tell a good story? I look at it this way. The Coffin of Andy and Leyley's story is made more effective by its insistence on showing us these moments that are crossing the line. The moments that we would otherwise not see in most titles makes this a more complete examination of the awful dynamic between the two main characters. It so rarely cuts away from these two that it feels suffocating, like we've been trapped in the same terrible situation right along with them. I think it fits, but I could definitely understand it being too much for a lot of people. Andrew and Ashley are the names they're trying to grow into, but they can't shed their past traumas. They struggle to move on from the hardships, the bitterness, the crass events that bind them together, and it's this continuous push and pull that makes this story so compelling. The Coffin of Andy and Leyley comes out during a year that's already stacked with tons of releases, so it might be hard to make time for something as deranged and out there as this, but do yourself a favor and play through it, and when you get to the end of Chapter 2, take the door on the left. You can thank me later.